Hello everyone and welcome to the Tank Club. This is my introduction tanking guide for Veteran Rockgrove. In this guide we're going to talk about all the different strategies you can use from the main tank and the off tank perspective. I hope you find this video useful and good luck completing the Veteran Rockgrove trial. Let's get into it. So, for the Rockgrove trial, there's a few different ways that you can do the different fights and stuff. However, there is kind of certain things you can do to make it easier for yourself. One thing we've talked about already is going Vampire. So Vampire potentially is going to help a lot in this trial, even for non-hard mode. So if you're in a progression group for doing Rockgrove, I do suggest the tanks becoming Vampires and having Mist Form available for the ad pulls and for the second boss. So even if you're not doing hard mode, for like inexperienced tanks and more progression level stuff, I do think there's a huge value to using Mist Form. Or should I say, Blood Mist. That's going to help you a lot. And it's going to help on the things like the first boss. If one of the tanks has got it, just in case they enrage, if the boss enrages, it's not going to affect you because you can go Mist Form. So if you want to play extra safety, then you can use Mist Form throughout the trial. So I'm going to slow this down. We're going to run it at a slower speed so that we can get all the ad pulls and things. We're going to talk about every pull and just explain what I'm doing as a tank in this kind of perspective and what the off tank's doing. So let's get started. So here we go, Rockgrove trial. We're not ready. Right, here we go. So first ad pull is just a load of small ads. So there's a couple of frogs, a couple of small ads. It's not worth really stopping for these, so you just run past them. And then the main tank wants to always take the two-handers throughout this trial. So the first two-hander, it's got a flag on its back, really easy to see. The Reaver, take that, bring it onto the path in the middle, and you just kind of hold it where it is. You chain in the other ads, chain in all the small ads. There's loads of small ads all around. So it's going to do a shatter, which you can't dodge, you can't block, you can't do anything about it. When it does the earthquake on the floor of the AoE, roll towards the group so that the group can attack the boss. The boss doesn't appear to really do any cleave attacks, so it's safe to roll at the group and bring it closer in. Just make sure you get out of the AoE and make sure you block in when it's doing the shatter. So that bit's nice and easy. Then we move onwards. Okay. Next ad pull. You've got a two-hander again, a Reaver, and you're going to stack it on the Archer over here. So, as the main tank, you take the Reaver, and you stack it on the Bloodseeker, you taunt both. And then you do the same thing again. Obviously, there I wasn't blocking, I nearly got one shot. So you've got to block. The two-hander nearly one-shots you with a light attack. Again, it does the overhead swing, which is the debuff. Then it does the Earthquake, you get out, dodge roll towards the group. Now, you ideally, the Bloodseeker's nearly dead, but when the Archer jumps away, take the two-hander to wherever the Archer jumps to, because it's much quicker to move the two-hander than it is to move the Archer. The Archer takes a long time. It goes through mechanics. It gets stuck. So you don't want to go and try and move the Archer back to the stack. Move the two-hander instead. It'll be a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. We're going to do the side boss as well here. I'll just show. There's not really much to explain for this. It's a very, very, very basic fight. Basically, you want to try and have some AoEs on the ground. So look, if you put down an Ice Blockade and a Caltrops maybe, that's quite good for this fight. But there isn't really a lot to do for either tank. So the main tank wants to take the boss, and then there's a big giant snake, which the off-tank takes. Off-tank wants to point this away quickly because it does a massive conal AoE. The only real attacks that the main boss does, it does a cone, a very slim kind of cone. It does an attack that needs to be interrupted, where it charges like a really long heavy attack, and then it just shoots constantly. It shoots like endless hails into the air. As you see there, they're all starting to stack up. They do quite a lot of damage. But you want to stack them up in quite a small area. As you can see, I started stacking them up on top of each other, and they're all on top of me. So I'm moving them. I'm not stacking them in a group. I'm trying to make them all stack together. And then the boss is doing the cone again. The snake doesn't really do a lot other than you need to be blocking it, because it does like a poison attack, which can hurt where it like jumps forward. It does the cone. The snake also does a thing where it curls up into a ball, and if you don't interrupt it, it heals. So it curls up into it like circles round, curls up. And sometimes it looks like it's dead, but actually it needs interrupting. You've got to bash it, or else it's healing itself. So make sure you watch out for that. Here's the interruptible. Boom, just bash that. It's like a charged heavy attack, and then you just interrupt it. Nice and easy. Okay, next ad pull is a mage. So this is the first mage that you encounter, and it's hidden at the back of the room. So you'll see it come running to. So you want to run into this ad pull. You can bring it all the way back here if you want to make it a bit safer so you don't get near the plants, because the plants cause damage. But as you can see, it's running down the stairs from behind. We run in, gets taunted in, And then we just debuff it. I fell into the water. And then we just chain all the adds onto it. Now, it's important that you kind of, when the Astro Shield happens, that your group's blocking. And there's also an explosion at the end of it as well. So your group needs to be blocking, block casting while the shield's active, and they need to spread out with the AoE. Sometimes the AoE at the feet will be on the tank as well. So as a tank, if you get the AoE, just make sure you're not stood too close to your group members and move out as well. So this is the archer pull. One tank. There's two archers here. One on the left, one on the right. So as you go into this ad pull, you can see them at the top of the stairs. They've got flags. All the main ads have got like a flag on the back. There's one archer. The other archer's over here. So as a tank, one of you takes one side, the other one takes the other side. So there, we taunt that, and then we run opposite ways behind the pillar. And then they stack up just here. People need to interrupt these, so you need your damage dealers to be interrupting, because they do a take and aim, and they're nice and stacked. Keep taunt of it, because when they jump away, if you don't kill them fast, they jump away. So the easiest thing to do is make sure you keep taunt, and then outrange them again back into position. There's other little ads there that did need chaining in, but obviously the main priority was trying to stack the archers. And then we come on to the last ad pull before the first boss. These are kind of the easier ad pulls, to be honest. The main tank takes the two ads on the left, so you've got a mage just there, and then a two-hander at the back. The off tank takes the archer on the right side, and then runs across the room to stack them on top. So as you can see, the off tank's there, running behind the cage, just in the corner of the screen, and then that's stack the archer. We get the normal thing, so we get the overhead swing where we get the debuff. We've got the take and aim coming in from the archer, and then we get the earthquake, roll towards the group, and everything's nice and stacked. The archer's going to jump away now. So if it's not dead, ideally you could just run the two-hander over to the archer, or bring the archer back into the stack, whichever one's quicker. And here, the archer was nearly back in the stack anyway, so that was nice and easy. Right, here we go. First boss. So as the main tank, pretty simple. There's not really much to really worry about for this fight. So the most important thing on this fight is to kind of make sure that the main boss isn't running through the ads. So when the ads spawn in, the big behemoths, you don't want the main boss to be charging through them. Sometimes that's not your fault if they do. But also, when they do charge, you need to kite the boss back to position by going around the ad. So if the ad is really close to the boss, don't bring the main boss straight through the ad to get it back in position. Go around it. Take it around. So you want to kind of hold the boss where it is. We're just going to hold the main boss where it is. And then, to be honest, this is quite a basic fight for the main tank. So there isn't really a lot of reason for you to chain in the frogs for this. It's more of an off-tank thing, in my opinion, because the group are always focused wherever the off-tank is. So it makes more sense for the off-tank to chain in the ads onto the behemoth. When the behemoth's dead, chain them in front of the boss. They cleave a lot better that way. And it's also quite difficult position-wise for you to chain them in. So you can chain in the near ones at the back, but when the ad spawns in, so if the ad's close, I think here you'll see me take a... Oh no, the ad's over at the side, so the ad spawns in. First ad is in, and then the ad goes to the middle of the room. Now it goes to the middle of the room, so the off-tank can chain everything in. Onto that. For the main tank, you want to avoid standing in the AoE. So it's a really long charged AoE. The boss starts to create the AoE, and you want to move out of that. You don't want to stand in it. You don't want to try and block it, because it does hurt. And then it'll disappear after a short period of time, and then you bring the boss back to position. As you can see, I kind of kited it back into position down the side, and then you just hold it. Now, as you can see, I'm facing diagonal to my group, and that is so I can drop the AoE to the side rather than slap bang in the middle of the room, because I want to be able to return the boss straight back to this position if it charges away. Now, the toxic sludge, the poison, won't happen on you as the main tank as long as you keep taunt at the boss. That just won't happen. If you lose taunt at the boss, you could get the poison, and then you have to go and cleanse in the water. Occasionally, the off tank will have to cleanse. So you might see the mini boss moving across the room. If that happens, move the boss back a little bit so that it can charge cleanly across the room. That's the main mechanic here, is it charging at somebody who should be stood out of group. So we've got a healer stood out of group. You do have to be careful of the AoE, because the boss will throw it at you sometimes. When that attack's channeled in, it will be dropping it no matter what. So avoid standing in it. Make sure, even when it's charged away, it can drop the AoE. And you should have somebody stood out of group so that it charges to them. As you can see here, there's not really a huge amount happening. There's a heavy attack, which hits a lot if you're not blocking. If you are blocking, it's not too bad. The light attacks hit for a lot. And then you've got the AoE. So for the main tank, there's not a huge amount to really do. As I said before, the frogs that spawn around the edge of the room, they should be chained in if they're really near and your group's focusing on the main boss. But it's kind of awkward for you to chain them. Like, as you can see, there's a frog behind me, but I'm not in a position to really chain it onto the boss very well, because if I was to chain it there, it would just chain behind me. So it wouldn't be in cleave range. And we want to cleave all those ads down. So the off tank is better positionally suited for chaining in the frogs, because they'll be in the center of the room. And it's just a case of rinse and repeat. Now, there's not a huge amount more that's going to happen. The poison AoEs that you see on the floor, they are caused by people taking too long to cleanse. So when people get the poison, there's always 2 people get the poison. Now, when they take too long to cleanse, they drop a poison AoE on the floor. So they keep dropping it, they keep walking. When the boss charges at somebody, that person should dodge roll towards the boss, and that makes him stop sooner. So when the boss starts to charge at the healer should dodge roll at the boss, and the boss will stop still much quicker. If they allow the boss to just run through and they sidestep it or roll dodge to the side rather than straight at the boss, then the boss will run further for longer. So he's be out of position for longer. The stomp here, as you can see, this is the perfect time to drop block and heavy attack. These attacks don't do much. He does some fire ground AoEs that kind of spread out in multiple directions, but it's a perfect opportunity to heavy attack. When the ads are spawning, it's perfect heavy attack. This is another situation here where there's time to heavy attack. So anytime when the boss is channeling a really long duration mechanic, that's when you can start doing some heavy attacks. So you're going to see it here. When the last ad spawns in at 25%, you can kind of just burn the boss at that point. You don't really have to worry about killing the last ad. So yeah, the stomps here, look, he does these stomps for a while. They don't do a lot of damage. A couple of igneous shields, a couple of heavy attacks, nice and easy. And that should improve your sustain. This isn't a really block-intensive fight. And here we go. The ad spawning in. Look how long this channel's for. This is a very, very long channeled attack. You could have done 5 heavy attacks. So if you are struggling with the current stamina bug, the block bug, that's going to be fixed in a couple of days. But as of right now, it's not. So if you are struggling, use that time there to heavy attack. You have got so long. And the ads spawn in 4 times throughout this fight. So you have got many opportunities to build up your full stamina bar again. When the boss charges away, drop your block. There's loads and loads of time to do that. As the off tank, there isn't a huge amount that you've got to worry about to start with at the start of the fight. You want to just buff and debuff. You want to be kind of in the middle of the room with the ad. So when the ad spawns in, it needs to be away from the main boss. If they go close to each other, they both enrage. So the ad will enrage. The main boss will enrage, the attacks that they do will enrage, everything enrages. So the main boss needs to be kept away from the ad. You need to keep the ad away from the main boss. So this is the off-tank perspective now. And when we get to ad spawning, there we go. It triggers at 95%. You get a few meteors dropping down that you need to kind of make sure you're blocking. Ad spawns in. They're really close together here, so you have to pull it out really quick. You do get a few seconds of leeway. So you pull out this behemoth. I've taunted it there, I'm taking it to the center. Or kind of the center. It's not going as far back as I wanted it to. So it does that where it holds its weapon in the air for 1 attack. As you can see, that's the heavy attack there. It swings its weapon around, hits the ground, and then meteors drop down. You need to be blocking those. There's a cone that follows one person. The person should wait a few seconds and dodge roll inside the cone. They need to stand still with the cone. They shouldn't be moving it. The normal light attacks are the spinning attacks where it just spins around. This is the charged heavy attack. You can dodge roll that, but it's safe to block it as well. That ad burnt really quick. As you can see, the frogs have started to spawn in. The frogs spawn in when people stand in the pools to cleanse. So when people cleanse in the pool turns to poison, and the frogs become... So the next ad comes... The trigger for the next ad is 75%. As you can see there, I've got it taunted, bringing it to the middle of the room. And then I'm chaining in the frogs. My job here is to chain it, well, the death hoppers. Chaining in the frogs. I'm keeping the ad pointed away from the group so that they can get their CP buffs on it from Backstabber. So yeah, my job here is just chaining everything in. Nice and easy. This is what the off tank has to do. So it's tricky on this fight if you're kind of not really good at sustaining. It's good to have balance and chains on the same bar if you can, because it means you can balance chain, and you never run out of magicka. So if you do have a lot of frogs spawning in, and you're not controlling them well enough, it can be tricky. There is a bit of an issue on range here, so I'm struggling to chain this frog in, even though I'm in range of it. There you go, finally got it. And now I need to cleanse. I've got the poison, so I need to cleanse, and I'm going, right, I need to go across, because someone's took the other pool. Now the boss is potentially going to enrage, however, it died. So if I would have ran the ad across the boss, because as you can see, the boss is really close to that pool, they both would have enraged there. But somebody had already taken the right pool, and my ad was about to die, so I just went for it. Now we're chaining in frogs again, nice and easy, and then it's kind of rinse and repeat. There's not really much else to do. You just kind of chaining in the frogs into cleave range. The main tank isn't chaining them in. The main tank's just focusing on repositioning the boss, making sure it doesn't charge through group, making sure it's not dropping the AoEs in group. And there's not really much else that you need to worry about. It's just getting these frogs in. Like I say, the frogs will only spawn in areas where people have cleansed. So, for example, there'll be very rarely ever any frogs at the entrance, because the group should always be cleansing on the exit side of the room, so where the main boss is. The reason for that is so that the boss doesn't charge through the group. So if people go and cleanse by the entrance door, the boss will charge at them occasionally and cause the group to all die. So you have to be very careful. It's much easier for the group to go and cleanse at the exit side, because they're really close to the boss then, and the person who's kiting the charge from the main boss is sufficiently away. Here I get the poison again, and this time I waited a little bit to make sure I'd got the chance to go on that side. I wasn't able to go there because somebody had taken it. Now I'm causing a problem because I'm dropping poison AoEs all through the group, because somebody didn't listen to my instruction that I was going to take the right side. So now I'm waiting, and rather than make the boss and the ad enrage each other, I ran to the entrance. So I had to run to the entrance that time to prevent the ad running through the boss and getting enraged. Now the enrage is a huge problem. If you do end up getting them enraged, they will pretty much one-shot your group, especially like when the main boss is doing the jump attack where it creates the fire. Those AoEs will hit everybody and kill everybody. They cause a lot of damage and things like that. So you just have to be really careful. And then that's it really. The next ad spawns in and we skip it. There's not really much more to say about it, to be honest. Frogs are just chained in, nice and easy. I don't know if you can notice this, but I'm on a Dragon Knight off tank. Now what this means is I'm actually spamming replenishing barrier, but I'm using the Sax Champion gear set. So what this is doing is it's giving my group like a ridiculous level of safety, because this was just a kind of chill farm run of gear. We're not trying to break any world records. We're not in an optimized group or an optimized setup. So the whole idea is to just make sure we're clearing it. So in this situation, it's much easier to sustain all the chaining and all the kind of things on the DK. So I just brought my DK off tank, and yeah, I was using Sax Champion with replenishing barrier, and it was really, really nice and easy. Right, into the main tank perspective now. So next we've got the next ad pull. Usually what happens here is we get the main tank goes to the right side and takes the two ads. The off tank goes to the left side and holds the other major way. So we've got Soul Weaver on the right and a Soul Weaver on the left. I'm going to take the Reaver and the Soul Weaver, and the group is going to focus the two ads down together. And then the off tank holds the other mage, the other Soul Weaver, out of group. So we don't have too much damage, too many shields, too many problems. We just take them separately like this. The Astral Shield comes in, obviously we block cast. We've got the Shatter there, where your screen turns that kind of funny grey colour. Dodge roll at the group from the Earthquake out of the AoE. And nice and easy. Off tank, as you can see in the corner of the screen there, the off tank's just holding the major way. And then you want to kind of chain in any straggler, as there's an ad just there that I'm trying to chain in. It's not chaining. Doing my best. The off tank brings the Soul Weaver over because we've nearly killed it. So it kind of, the off tank brings it a little bit closer. And then we go into group and we focus this one down. Ridiculous detail. Right, the next ad pull, main tank takes the two-handers. They're going to run at the group. So this little thing here on the stairs aggroes the ad pull. So here the two Reavers run into group. You get them both taunted as they run towards you, and just keep them on the stairs. You try and keep them really close together so they drop the two AoEs right on top of each other. So there's the first Earthquake. I'm going to stand in it for a second because the other one is going to drop one also, and then I get out of it. So I'll wait for them to both drop the Earthquake and then get out of it. It's a little bit risky because you could get hit for a lot of damage while stood in that and taking the damage. The off tank has the off tank is holding a mage out of group, the Soul Weaver out of group, and then once the ads nearly die, runs it over, because it triggers in melee range. It's not a normal mage style ad. Even though it is a mage, this follows you in melee range. So it will run after you. Whereas normal mages will try and keep their distance. This one's a bit different. Right, next ad pull is where we start to see some of the scary ads, some of the big red guys that are going to cause a lot of problems. You can just take the mage. So the mage is just here, look. And you're going to just pull it to these stairs where we are now. So you just pull it to those stairs and it makes it a bit easier for your group so you don't have too much damage. So here we go. There is tab target, as you can see it there. Ad pull starts. Main tank runs in, takes the butcher, stacks it on the archer. The mage is pulled to the entrance. This stops people taking lots of damage from the shield. So this is the safer way of doing it. If you've got more damage and you can burn things faster, then obviously you just take the mage and stack it in the group and you can just burn everything down really quickly. But this is just a little bit safer if you're trying to play it safe with the ad pulls, if you struggle with the damage. Obviously you do need to keep yourself alive. If you've got misform, as you can see here, making use of that misform, taking 0 damage. There, I killed somebody because they stepped on me with the AoE when I was trying to bring the Weaver into the group. But as you see, the general gist of it is just to separate the ads to make it easier for the group. Okay, so for the main tank point of view, taunt the butcher, avoid the light attack by dodge rolling, and then run to the archer. So the archer runs to you here. You've obviously got the off tank who can take the mage away or stack it in, whichever one's more comfortable for your group. The butcher does a lot of damage, also applies a bleed every time it light attacks. You could avoid the light attack on the PTS and by dodge rolling, and that would also make sure you didn't get the bleed. Now it hits you regardless of dodge rolling or not. So taunt the butcher, sprint in, dodge roll, and then stack it on top of the archer. Now you're going to be taking a lot of damage. You've got bleed damage, you've got light attack damage. You want to be blocking when the boss stomps the ground, and you also want to dodge roll the heavy attack. So when the heavy attack happens, make sure you roll dodge it because it hits for a lot of damage. And then you kind of just finish up. But as you can see, it's a lot of damage for everybody. It's a lot of damage for your group. Don't get hit by the heavy attack, especially when you've got all the bleed damage and all the other damage going on inside the group as well. Just make sure you avoid that. And then, yeah, normal stuff, archer, mage, finish those off. Same as before. Next ad pull is the two-hander and an archer. Now, the two-hander, you can see it at the start of the room. You want to taunt that quickly and then sprint, roll. Taunt it, sprint towards the archer. Don't stand there and wait for anything. Like, the archer's going to run towards the group, so just get it stacked in quickly. So, yeah, taunt the Reaver. Like, you can roll dodge there to avoid the light attack. That's an important thing. And then sprint to the Bloodseeker. Block. Get them stacked up. Normal stuff. You need to block the shatter. Interrupt the take and aim. Get out of the earthquake dodge roll to the group. Same mechanics as before. Nice and easy. And then we get the last ad pull before the second boss. This is the worst ad pull in the whole trial. Very, very difficult. There's 2 ways to do it. So, we'll go and quickly show you now. This is where Blood Mist starts to become really good. Being a vampire becomes really helpful in this from this ad pull. And that just means that you can avoid a lot of the damage. So I'm going to show you, well, you're going to see me doing it in Vampire. Now, going into this ad pull, it's a good idea to make sure all of your damage dealers have got their ultimates. So on the ad pull before, everyone builds up their ultimate, gets it ready for this ad pull. Because this ad pull's the one that is a big, big problem. So what you do now is, it can be a good idea if you're on a Dragon Knight, make sure you've got your Magma Shell, make sure you're a Vampire with your Blood Mist, whichever way you want to play this. The main tank is going to take the 2 big red guys, they're going to run down the Butcher and the other one. The off tank takes the Mage and the two-hander. You can pull those away. If the off tank knows how to keep themselves alive, the off tank can potentially run a selfish setup on this ad pull, where they've got maybe a selfish monster set. Make sure they've got some good self-healing. If you're a Necro tank, nice and easy, you've got Scythe. So that's good. Necro off-tanks are typically the go-to for this trial and for off-tanking in general. So they want to take the Mage and the two-hander and take them out in group. If you choose to go with the stacking option, there's going to be a lot of damage in group again. So you kind of choose. The safe way is to have the off-tank take them out of group. Let them play it selfish. Let them use a selfish monster set, a Troll King, an Earth Gore, anything they need to stay alive. If they want to run a selfish gear set. For this ad pull, it's not going to matter. They just need to take the ads away. If you're going to stack them in, just be prepared for a lot of damage. So as the main tank, you are going to taunt the guy at the top of the stairs. So that's the first ad that you're going to taunt. So the one ad spawns at the top of the stairs, the other one is at the very back of the room. We're going to stack everything where that mage is in the middle of the room. I don't know if you can see it just there. And there's also a wandering ad. It just wanders around the room with the two-handed just walking about. So yeah, here we go. This is, so you want a barrier as you go in. Make sure a healer's got a barrier. Healer cast barrier. Tank can use magma shell if they need to. Go defensive, play it safe. There's no point in trying to maximize your efficiency on this ad pull, especially for the majority of groups. So the barbarian there is the first priority. You're going to range taunt that down to the stairs first, and then the other ad runs towards you. So as you see there, boom, range taunt. Other ads coming in. A dodge roll to avoid the light attack. The butcher is now picked up. I'm taking a lot of damage, but I've got them both taunted. Now, as you can see, you can just go into mist form. Blood mist means you take no damage. So this is the safe option so you don't die. You go into the blood mist. This makes it a lot easier. You can do a lot of other stuff. Like I say, you can use magma shell. You should have people using barriers. You should have people using the horn. Have people dropping all their ultimates on top of this stuff. Make sure everything is dead. And as you can see there, both of the big red ads are dead. Those are the big priority to kill. They are horrendous. You DDs want to tab target the guy at the top of the stairs first of all. So when he's running down the stairs, he's already taking damage. And nobody should go up the stairs until the tanks are ready to pull, because there is an ad that stands on the corner of the stairs which aggroes the entire ad pull. So no one should be on the stairs until you are running in and ready to go. And that's that ad pull. I did kind of cop out there, and as you saw me do mist form, but that is the way to do it. Everything was taunted. I had as many debuffs as I could do, and then I just went into mist form to play it safe. That is the way to get through it in a safe manner. Yeah, Barbarian Butcher, Mage two-hander. Yeah. You want to, like, you might as well focus the one at the top of the stairs first because it's near to the group already. You can damage it as it's coming down the stairs, as it's going into the stack. The guy at the back of the room can be killed after, but you want to have everything. You need them stacked fast, efficient, so everybody can drop everything and just burn it down. Right, second boss. So obviously this is non-hard mode. We're not going over hard mode mechanics here. We're just going over regular mechanics, how to do this fight. There's a couple of different ways I like to do it personally. So I like to kind of have a situation where we don't move too much around the room, or you can move around the room depending on how your group wants to do it. So the main tank takes the boss back to the lava and kind of holds it central there. And then the main tank, the off tank, taunts in the abominations, just brings them in so that the group can cleave them down. So we'll go over this just now. Right, here we go. So the main tank's running in over there. They're just going to turn the boss and take it to the lava at the back. And then I'm the off tank in this situation. I'm going to bring the abominations next to the group, so next to the boss. And that's how we're going to play this fight. So every time an abomination spawns, we're going to just put it around the edge of the room. We're going to line the whole room up with abomination AoEs. So cursed ground. This is important. So the group here, in this sort of situation, you've got the main tank here. You've then got the boss. And then the group needs to be stacked up quite close to the boss. Not super close. You don't need to push right against it. If they're right against it, what happens is the main tank gets a curse. When the curse explodes after 10 seconds, it will sometimes go towards the group. If they're too close to the boss, they're guaranteed to get hit by it. So they don't want to stack right against it. And you need 2 people at range in this fight to be kiting the boss. Kiting the curse. So what will happen is we'll get the curse ground effect that happens. 2 things come out the ground. They create an AoE. The 2 people at the back of the room will get hit by it. And then they will get the curse. So 2 people always get the curse at the back of the room if you've got kiters, and the main tank will always get a curse as well. So as you can see here, right, the boss turns around. The boss always faces the direction where the abomination's going to spawn. So as you see there, it's facing that direction. Abomination spawns in. I bring it over and hold it right against the lava. So my toes are touching the lava. My heels are touching the lava, should I say. And what we're going to do is we're going to place all the AoEs in a line around the edge of the room. So the group now are still stacked up, and they're focused on the abomination. The next abomination's coming in, because we've kind of cleaved the boss a little bit. So that means the boss is too close. So ideally, we want to have the boss moved a little bit further away so that we don't get too much cleave. Because this fight is burn the ads, damage the boss a little bit. Burn the ad, damage the boss a little bit. You want to take your time. There's no rush on this fight. You don't need to shred the boss in seconds. It's better to take your time and just do what you can. So abominations, we're dropping the AoEs. You should only get 1 AoE because your group should be focusing them. So they'll drop 1 AoE. Then you can kind of position them wherever you want. Here I died. bad times. As you can see there, the bleed. Look at the bleed. Every time you get light attacked by the abomination, you get the bleed. And that's not good. So, we'll try again. So, yeah, main tank takes it out to the back, look. Taunts it near the edge of the lava in the center. And this means that the group doesn't have to move. Because if you keep moving the boss around, everyone's going to keep adjusting position. You get 3 ads that spawn in occasionally. The off-tank chains them in as far as they can. It's difficult to chain them in because obviously they're around the edge of the room. The little blue things on the floor, that's where they spawn. When the abomination spawns in, put it near the lava. There you go. So we'll do the same thing again. I'm just refreshing this so that we've got a bit better clip. I kind of took it really close to the lava there. Bit risky. Try and drop the AoE as close as you can to the lava. You also need to avoid the little AoEs on the floor that travel across the floor. Those are the curse AoEs. If you get hit by the curse AoE, you will gain the curse. And then you'll have to wait 10 seconds and you'll explode and you'll pass out the curse AoE yourself. Now, if you're stood next to other people and you get hit by the curse AoE, you get somebody else's curse, basically. If you're stood next to other people, you become a bomb and you blow them up. As you can see, again, the boss has turned around. It's facing the exit. So I know the abomination's over there. I range taunt it in. Give it a range taunt. And then I run over. And I'm going to place the AoE next to that one. The good thing here is the group is not moving. So we're not having to reposition ourselves and causing people to get cursed all over the trial. When people are having to move around, people keep getting cursed. The wrong people keep getting cursed. We've got 2 kiters. We only want those guys to get cursed. We don't want the other people in the group to get cursed. So that's why we're kind of doing it this way. The archers we will control at some point in the fight. At the minute, the guys that are kiting are focusing the archers. We push the main boss here, so we've got a second abomination coming in. We're just going to range taunt that one into the stack as well. Nice and easy. And we're going to make sure we're placing it where we want that to go. As you can see, I'm taking a lot of damage, and especially when you get 2 abominations, you start to take a lot of damage because you get 2 bleeds. Every time you get hit by the abomination, it just keeps reapplying the bleeds here. When you've got 2 abominations, you've got 2 bleeds. So this is where Blood Mist becomes useful for the off-tank as well as the main tank. So as you can see here, we're just stacking them around the room. I have to take the main boss as well, but we just Blood Mist, no problem. The AoEs are just constantly traveling around the floor. You need to avoid them. Now, the curse AoEs, these ones here, I just got hit by the curse AoE. It was unavoidable. You can dodge roll through them. So when you see a curse AoE on the ground, you can dodge roll through it, and then you won't get the curse. So you can dodge roll away from it, or sidestep it, or move away. When you have reached the 10-second timer on the curse, it explodes, and it goes in all different directions. As you can see here, I've got a little bit of time, so I'm going to chain in. I'm going to chain these to the middle of the room to make it easy. And then we'll be able to chain them onto the boss in a few seconds. So we kind of just chain them to the middle. People can damage them. These guys at the back of the room can damage them. Those are our kiters. They are kiting the curse AoE. You might see it. There it is. Look, I don't know if you can see it in the background there. We've got these guys just got cursed. Here's the abomination. And the abomination, as long as you control them quickly, range taunt them, don't be near them, range taunt them over to where you want them to drop the AoE. So range taunt them, bring them to the edge of the room. They're going to do the AoE very early on. But you've got to do this quickly. If you mess around and you take too long, they'll drop these AoEs in the middle of the room. If you stood too close and you haven't got them positioned, they will drop these AoEs and it'll be chaotic. Now that it's dropped the AoE, I can actually freely move around the room a little bit. I did have to take the main boss here, so I've took the main boss, bringing the abomination back just in case it drops a second AoE. If you take too long to kill the abominations, they will drop more than 1 AoE. But it does take quite a long time for that to happen. So you do have time to just do the 1 AoE. I've gone into misform here because I did have quite a heavy bleed. This one's dropped a second AoE because we took too long to kill it. Right, this is the main tank point of view of this fight. Doing it slightly different to that. So this time we're holding it in the middle of the main tank holding it in the middle of the room. This is a more advanced group though. So the off tank chains the ads into the center, and obviously that's where the boss is, so they get cleaved down. The little archers, a little bit easier. If you've got more damage, this makes it a bit simpler. I'm going to be taking the boss near to where the abominations spawn. And that's kind of a different way of doing it as well. So you can do what we just did in the previous section, or you can do it this way. As you can see here, the ad's spawning. I take the boss, I sprint away from it. You've got to have an interrupt though if you're going to do this, because you need to be able to range interrupt it. Look, it does have an interruptible, the main boss does. The damage from this main boss is not very high. It hits quite low damage. So the main thing here is the curse. So the curse ground, there's the curse ground. Look, it hits these guys in the back where it spawns up from the ground. This time the Abomination's being taunted over this one because we've got 2. So when we've got multiple, we are dealing with 2 Abominations. Now you can see I've got the curse and I've just gone into Mistform. This is to make it easy for my healers. I'm not doing this for any other reason other than to make this fight easy for my healers. If I don't go into Mistform, I'm requiring a lot of healing. So I'm just kind of taunting the boss. The off-tank's next to me there. And then bringing the Abominations in. And I move away from the main tank. There's the Death Touch. It's the Scythe. I don't know if you've seen the Necro Tank skill. The heal, the Scythe. When that happens, that is the curse. 3 AoEs come out. You can't avoid it. You are going to get hit by it. Never move the boss until the curse has happened unless it's doing a mechanic. Here you see me sprint away from the boss to the Abomination because I knew it was safe to do so. The Death Touch happens. I go into Mistform. Problem solved. I'm nearly dead, but boom, quick heal into Mistform. And we saved it. As you can see, the Abominations dropped the AoE, so I've moved back. Next Abomination's coming in because we've got 2 because we pushed the main boss. So we stacked the other one on top of that one. Nice and easy. I'm moving back. There's the Scythe again. Back into Mistform. That's the easy way to do it. You don't have to go into Mistform. On this fight, you can just use guard. The healer can guard you. You can have a healer spamming heals on you. You can use other things. There is an interrupt that needs to happen there. So the boss does occasionally need to be interrupted. You have to look out for that. It's also a good idea to call when your curse is about to expire. Now, if you are not on PC, so you can still see the curse when you're not on PC. I don't know if you can see, but this is my buff bar here. This is the in-game buff bar, the buff tracker. If I was to turn my debuff tracker on as well, for myself, it would show the timer from the curse just on my bar right here. So you could still call it, even if you're on console and you're not on PC, you don't have all the fancy graphics popping up and saying when it's happening. You can still do the same thing on console. So you'll have a little timer on the far left just here, and that will be your curse timer. You need to tell your group when your curse is about to explode, because if the group is stacked behind the boss and your curse explodes and goes straight forwards towards the group, they need to dodge roll or step to the side and get away from it. If they don't, when it hits one person, the whole group will blow up. Because as I mentioned before, when the AoE is somebody else's curse, it will explode and blow people up. It becomes a bomb. So you have to be very, very careful. Right, so here we go. We just rinse and repeat here. The off-tank's just bringing in the ads, dropping the AoEs around the edge of the room. I'm moving the boss a little bit because this group are adjusting their position. So you've got to avoid these little AoEs, the blue glowing AoEs. Avoid them. You've got to avoid them. Interrupts coming there. This is kind of the same fight now. I've showed you the main tank and the off-tank perspective. There isn't really any more to it. The most difficult part about this is actually the archers now. Like, if you do this part, this bit's the easy part now. You've got loads of archers around the edge of the room that are difficult to chain in, both for the main and the off-tank, because you're both at the edge of the room. So you do have to kind of try and quickly find the time to chain in the archers. The off-tank really should do that. The main tank's probably not going to be able to do so. But never move the boss if you're not cursed. Always move the boss when you're cursed, because then you know it's not going to curse the group. If I run with the boss when I'm not cursed, he could do the scythe. It's going to send out 3 AoEs in the direction of the group. So you don't want to move the boss unless you're cursed. And it's safe to do so, because if you are using Mistform, the boss does the curse to you, you go into Mistform, you run to the other side of the room and stack it next to the Abomination. But I personally think, especially if you're watching this video and you're kind of trying to learn the mechanics for this trial, you're probably in a situation where you're more of a beginner group, or inexperienced, should I say. So it'd be much safer for you to just keep the boss really still, move it slowly around the edge of the room and just bring the Abominations over and drop the AoEs around the edge, rather than moving the boss. So now we're hitting the execute phase. We're getting to the 50% mark. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do this, but the way I like to do it personally, I like to take the main boss and put it near the portal. Because now, there's going to be no more Abominations from, is it 55%? We're only going to get behemoths now that spawn out of the Oblivion portal. So we take the main boss to the Oblivion portal. And that means we can start damaging the behemoths as soon as they spawn in. So as you can see, one's ran straight from behind me. Off-tank gets it. I'm cursed. Now these are important. We need to... I think these also apply quite a bit of damage to the main tank. The main tank doesn't want to stand in the group because they do the similar attack when they do the spinning around and they hit the ground. And if people are stood there, it drops fire meteor on top of them. These also explode, so when the behemoths die, the group needs to step back because if you don't step back, you're going to get exploded up. And it's just kind of the same fight for a little while here. You have got some kind of ads that are going through the room. You are getting hit by fire. You've got some kind of ads flying around the room there. They just need cleaving down. They don't need focusing. And the mechanics stay the same. You get the interrupt there that needs interrupting. And we've got the curse. The curse cannot be purged. The curse cannot be... You cannot undo the purge. You can't do anything like that to get rid... So you can't use purge or undo to get rid of... the dot. You can't do it. It just you will keep the dot no matter what. So that death touch won't be, you can't get rid of it any other way. It will stay on you no matter what. You can't dodge it. You were able to dodge it on the PTS. You could dodge roll the attack that creates it. Now if you dodge roll, it still applies to you no matter what. So as I mentioned, if I get the curse, when I've got the curse, after 10 seconds, I explode and send out 2 AoEs in random directions. When those AoEs hit somebody, the person who gets the curse from my AoE, or anybody else's AoE, if you get the curse from somebody else's AoE, it will apply to the person and explode, and you will become a bomb and you'll kill people who are near you. So, if somebody gets hit by somebody else's curse and becomes cursed, they then become a bomb and they explode. We now get meteors in this phase. Meteors start to appear around the room, and they're never near the boss. They're always around the back edges of the room. So this here, where the boss does this really elaborate thing, that is where it's the meteor. That's when the meteors are going to start being triggered into the room. As you can see, there's a meteor over here. And you can just range them down. You don't have to run all the way to them. This is a mistake that people make, is where the entire group just runs across the length of the room to go and kill the meteors. You just can range them down from the middle of the room so that you don't get the cursing group. But yeah, from a tank's point of view, you just need to hold the boss nice and still and just make sure it's not facing the group. Call out when you've got the curse and when you're exploding. Make sure you're getting their interrupts, and it's that kind of simple. You can see when the boss does the thing where it stands with its weapon in the air, that's when it's going to create a meteor. You can call that out as well. So there we go, that's the second boss. So a couple of different ways that you can kind of do that. Now we're going to move onwards to the final ad pulls. The ad pulls now are kind of easier than the ones before the second boss. So up to the second boss, the ad pulls are difficult. And then the second boss is difficult, and then it gets a little bit easier. Right, ad pulls up to the last boss now. So this ad pull, usually people just run straight ahead to the ad at the front, and then what happens is it creates meteors which spawn in a really awkward place that are difficult to target. So the best way to do this is to range taunt the ad straight ahead, and then run in the other direction, and bring it down the hill a little bit so you can stack it there. So the torch caster, range taunt it quick, and sprint down the hill to stack it nice and quick to stop the meteors spawning on a lopsided hill which is hard to target. That's why we do it. So range taunt and sprint to the other, where the other ad was there, look. So you stand there and it stacks in the middle, look. And it's a bit easier doing it that way, because then when the meteors spawn behind, look, as you can see it just there, it's much easier to kill. Whereas if you don't do that and you run straight ahead to it and you focus it where it is, they often spawn on the hill next to it, so then it becomes really difficult to do. Next ads are kind of simple. You just got one ad here, which is quite easy to do. So you just run in and taunt it, spin it around, block, nice and easy. So it's just a behemoth, this one, and then 3 little ads. Oh, sorry, a barbarian. So just barbarian, turn it around. When it's on its own, it doesn't really do that much damage. It's not really much of a problem. It's when it's combined with other ads that these start to really cause an issue. So on its own, like I say, it doesn't do a lot. You just block, spin it around, nice and easy. Next one, a little bit more difficult. We get a couple of ads here. So we get another torch caster, which is going to create the prime meteor. It walks around though, so you've got to look out for it. So here we've got it there. It's kind of running into the stack. You get a behemoth that runs out of the lava pool behind the ads. So there's, as you saw, it came out of the flames over there. There's a big hole in the ground. Prime meteor spawning again. It just spawns somewhere around the room near to where the ad is. And here we're kind of lucky because we can cleave it all down together. And again, the torch caster doesn't really do much damage to you as a tank when it's on its own. I know there's a behemoth, but the two combined aren't really that much of a problem. You do have to watch out for the explosion. And there we go. What we got next? We've got one last behemoth that walks around. It can walk all the way down to near the next mini-boss, the dragon, the Ash Titan, or it can walk all the way back to the first apple in this area. So it can be one or the other. Same again, just behemoth, same kind of attacks. Nice and easy. Now this is where, this next fight is actually quite a challenge. So, the off-tank wants to take the Torchcaster, and you can either run and focus hard on the Torchcaster and get it killed, or the off-tank can range taunt it and stack it on the Ash Titan's tail. The main tank takes the Ash Titan and the Barbarian. Now it's a lot of damage, so how you want to do this is you taunt them both, dodge roll straight at the Ash Titan, and then you're going to need to dodge roll again, because you will want to avoid the Ash Titan's heavy attack. Then one of the main focuses here is to kind of, you need to burn the Torchcaster fast, then the Barbarian, then the Ash Titan. The Ash Titan does an attack where it will stand up, upright, and drop fire all over your group. That is the most difficult part of this fight. And actually, I've seen groups that wipe more on this fight than they do on the second boss, once you kind of get used to the mechanics. And it's just a lot of damage. Now, the main thing to avoid here is the splashing AoEs. Range taunt the Barbarian, then range taunt the Ash Titan, then we dodge roll at the group. We dodge roll through the Ash Titan. So we taunt it both. Dodge roll there to avoid getting hit by anything. Then dodge roll instantly again to avoid the cleave from the Ash Titan. There is going to be a prime meteor here from the Torchcaster that needs focusing. And you just need to make sure you're blocking the Ash Titan. The Ash Titan really hurts. When it spits fire at you, when it does its light attacks, they all really hurt. When it stands on its back legs, you need to avoid the big AoEs and just block the small ones. So there's one that's stuck at your feet that you can't avoid. It's targeted on you. Nice and easy. The AoEs that appear on the floor, you need to get out of them. And the group needs to get out of them because they do a lot of damage. And then it's just a case of blocking and avoiding the delayed swipe attack that he does. So this one here, the Monstrous Cleave, dodge roll that because it does cause quite a bit of damage. But you can survive just blocking it. This is the main mechanic though. Step out of the big AoEs and just block the small ones. And if you do that, it's nice and easy. The Ash Titan does spit fire at you there though. When it spits the fire at you, that can one-shot you. That's just like a light attack, a fire spit. Avoid it because just block it, it will hurt. And there we go. Ash Titan dead. And then we're on to the last boss. So there's a couple of things here. The main damage is where you get hit by the swipes by this boss. You need to kind of dodge roll them. They do hurt even on non-hard mode. So it's like 4 dodge rolls to avoid all the hits if you can, ideally. And it's quite easy to sustain this fight because you don't need to block all the time. All you need to do is block the meteor things that drop on you. So we taunt this. You keep it in the center of the room. And it's the swipes that are the big problem here. Everything else is quite low damage. So Death Star, this hurts if you're not blocking. So you've got to block that. Here's the swipes. 1, 2, 3, 4. Every time the boss swings its hand towards you, you just roll dodge it. Those hits can pretty much kill you. If you're not on full health, you're probably going to die from those. And then this bit here, you've got like a ring around your feet, like a circle AoE around your feet. That does quite a bit of damage unblocked, but you can just block through it and it doesn't really do anything. The Death Star is the main thing though. When you get to like 70%, the boss will go and then you've got to chase it up the stairs. You cannot shield through the damage on the stairs, so this fire really, really hurts. You can't shield through it. You just got to heal through it. You need a speed boost to get up the stairs, and also there's a dot that gets applied to you as well, so you can purge that. And that's pretty much it. You run up the stairs, and then once you get to the top of the stairs, wait for your group. So pause at the top of the stairs. There we go. You pause at the top because you're going to get the AoEs dropping on your group. So you wait and you go together. 3, 2, 1, go. And you all run together. Because if you don't, the Death Stars will be dropping and people will be running into them. Get the boss again. You taunt it. You hold it in the center. Here's the swipes. 1 dodge roll. 2 dodge rolls. 3 dodge rolls. 4. There you go. Job done. You can do like a dodge roll igneous to get your stamina back. And then now you've got loads of time to heavy attack again. As you can see, I'm balancing, I'm igneous shielding, and there's loads of time. The off tank in this position is just range taunting in the ads and pointing them away from the group. There's some real annoying ads. So this one is one of them here. Now, let's just pause a second. This stage of the fight here is where the boss will split into 3 bosses. You've got to walk into melee range to see if it's a real boss or not. If it's real, it'll look like a boss. If it's not, it'll be translucent. So we kind of walk into the boss. This is the real boss because when I'm stood next to it, it's a full boss. You can see it. You can't see through it. If it's not a real boss, you can see through it. So the ones on the entrance and the other side aren't real. The Daedroths need pointing away from the group. The fire breath from the Daedroths is really hard to handle there. So the off-tank takes those and stacks them. And then we're just doing the dodge rolls. When the swipes are coming in, you get like, I don't know if you could see the glow around my character. I'll show you again in a second on the next one. But we're pushing the upstairs again. At 40%, the boss will go upstairs and you've got to chase him back up the stairs again. It doesn't matter how much you push the boss here. So you can see we're at 34%. When we get to the top floor, the boss is going to heal. Right, off-tank point of view. So for this bit, I mean, you just kind of chaining everything in. So this guy is always in the same place. This ad here, the Iron Atronach, always spawns at the back of the room. You want to bring it in, but not put it right in the group and not right on top of the tank as well. You don't want to stack it on top of the boss. Stack it to the side because it's got a huge AoE and you don't want that to be stacked on top of anybody, really. You want to move it to the side a bit. So the ad here, yeah, like I say, you want to hold this to the side. When you've got this circle around your feet, here, look. If you've got this circle around your feet, you want to go and stand next to the kind of, on the same side of the room to the main tank until it's gone. You want to try and point the Iron Atronach away from the group, and literally as the off-tank, your job is to just control all the ads. So you're just controlling all the ads, bringing them into the stack, chaining them in, making sure they get cleaved down. That is all you've got to do. Yeah, so the off-tank's job in this is just ad control, and the ads do really hurt. Like, especially the ones that do like breathe fire everywhere and do loads of AoEs. So the Daedroths are a big problem. The Iron Atronachs are a problem. So you've got to really watch out for those ones. Those are the main ones that cause a lot of issues. You have Fire Atros and Banekins and stuff like that spawn as well. They are less of a problem. You get some Watchers, they are less of a problem. It is really the Daedroths and the Iron Atronachs that cause the issues. So you need to make sure, as an absolute priority, those ones are taken care of. See, Iron Atro there, like I said, moving it slightly away. I saw it late, it was on the main tank. The main tank died from the swipes because he wasn't dodge rolling all of the hits. So the main tank died. Now here's the split. As you can see, this is the real boss again because it's not going see-through. So the boss goes see-through when you stood this close to it if it's the fake boss. The Daedroths there, look at these Daedroths. They breathe fire and the fire really ticks hard. So your group's got to be careful not to stand. It's quite a wide cone, so you need to make sure you're pointing those away. Ads are just spawning in constantly through the Oblivion portals. See, it's like a 30k plus hit from when you block the swipes, like 30k each one, and you get hit 5 times. So if you are just blocking it and you're blocking those swipes, they hit for about 30k. Maybe more, depending on what your resistance is and gear and all your mitigation and stuff like that is. So you do have to be careful. Right, there we go. So if you take too long to kill the boss, then you'll get an ad spawn in. A sword and board ad, as you see him there, look. A Goliath. Now, you've got to bring him and stack him right on top of the boss or on top of the group. And he's going to do his mechanic in a second. So his main mechanic is he has a safe zone in the middle and then a fire ring around the outside. And you've got to stand inside the middle. And your group have just got to kill him as fast as possible. So as you can see there, the Goliath is going to spawn if you don't push the boss to the upstairs phase fast enough. Spawns in. You need to stack it quickly on the boss. Here he comes. You've got to bring it in really, really close. Right on top of the boss. Right on top of the group. And then he does this where he creates this ring around the room. And you've got to stand inside or on the very outside. One or the other. So you either stand inside the ring or on the outside. If you go into the fire, you're going to die. And your group needs to just burn him down quickly. And get rid of him. Because it creates a problem. Because you don't have enough space in the room to maneuver around. So that's what happens when the Goliath spawns. Another mechanic to think about here is when we kill, there's some ghosts that are flying towards the boss. If they make it to the boss, they put a shield on the boss. If you kill them in time, the person who kills the ghost gets a synergy. When you press the synergy, it drops a blob on the floor, and when people stand on the blob, it causes damage, slows them down, and you kind of have a few problems. Now, what you can do is you can stack the blobs to the side out of the group, and that's what people should be doing. You don't want to be definitely stacking them on the main tank. So if somebody's dropping the synergy on you, you're going to be stuck in position. Again, we run up the stairs, we stack up, we do a countdown once everyone's there, and then we move together. Now, this is a little bit tricky because the middle of the room here, you can't walk in the middle of the room. The middle of the room is now, you can fall through it, so you have to be very careful. So the group runs around one way, I go the other way. You've got to be careful of the Death Star, and then we get the swipe straight away. So you can see here, there's like a glow around my character. That means I'm getting the targeted swipes. So you dodge roll 4 times. You can see that golden glow around the character, and that's when you know you've got to start dodge rolling. You want to dodge roll 4 times, but don't dodge roll too quickly. Take a dodge roll, take a second, dodge roll again. The Death Star, the big AoEs here do cause a problem. There's a lot in group, and you should have 2 people trying to kite those away. And yeah, you just keep the boss facing away from the group. They all stack up behind, and then you get 2 people standing away from the group so that these AoEs, we get less in the group. If everybody stacks up, we get more AoEs in the group. So as you can see here, this is the real boss again because it didn't go see-through. So we've got a real boss here. So yeah, the 2 furthest people away here get most of the meteors dropped on them. So you want 2 people stood away from the group, catching the meteors, preventing them from going into group. If everyone's stacked up and you don't have the 2 kiters, then there's loads more meteors in the group. You can see Oblivion portals all around the room. Adds are spawning out of those. You can help chaining those in. The off-tank will be chaining them in and taunting them as well and trying to stack them on the boss. And that's pretty much it.